What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today we have a video that I've kind of been looking forward to making the past couple weeks. DJ Smith has finally been fired by the Ottawa Senators. It finally happened 2 months into the season, right off the heels of a 4-game losing streak. They are now 11-15, and the Senators have decided to part ways with DJ Smith. Thank God this finally happened. Obviously, the Senators, a disastrous start, 11-15 in 26 games, no overtime losses, just 15 regulation losses. And you look at that, that is worst in the entire Eastern Conference in terms of points. Yes, the Jackets do have a worse points percentage. They are 3 points back of the Jackets with 6 games in hand. So they're not technically the worst team in the East, but right now, based on the games that have been played, they're the worst. And overall in the league, they are pretty easily the 5th worst team by points percentage, only worse than the Jackets, Ducks, Sharks, Blackhawks. This was expected to be a team, especially, not saying last year was a success, but last year was an improvement, 86 points above 500 in terms of points percentage, but it all went off the rails to start this season. And don't get me wrong, Dorian, we're going to dive into all that, but most of this was DJ Smith's system. It just wasn't working. Night in and night out, they were not consistent. They were consistently getting blown out last night against the Vegas Golden Knights. They just had no defensive identity. The offense wasn't clicking like in past years. It was just another shit show, and as a result, they were on pace for 69 goddamn points. My mouth kind of opened up wide when I did the math. 22 points in 26 games, 69-point pace. That is straight up a bottom 5 team in the entire league. So when looking at that, you really had to can him. I was a little bit surprised that they ended up doing this, if I'm going to be honest. I thought a week or two ago it was time to either fire him or not. They obviously kept it going, and then they went through this horrible stretch. I thought maybe the season's basically done at this point. We're going to dive into that further, but I thought maybe they're just going to ride it out until they get a full-time general manager. But clearly, they decided that after a 4-game losing streak, after getting dogged against Vegas at Vegas, and they're coming home now, it's time. It's time to move on, and thank God it is time to move on. Because again, although it wasn't an ideal season for the Senators. You look at it, Shane Pinto gets suspended 41 games. Ridley Gregg gets hurt after playing fantastic. He's back now, but he missed like 12 games. Shabbat missed like 4 weeks. And the goaltending has been pretty goddamn horrendous. Still, this is DJ Smith. This isn't like it's his first or second year, and the team has had prior success. He does not get the excuses of injuries, of poor goaltending. And honestly, I think the numbers on the goaltenders are a little bit overstated just because his defensive system is so bad. They allowed so many odd man rushes, so many wide open, high danger chances that I think the advanced numbers are a little bit mean to the goaltenders, although they haven't been playing to the level they're capable of. It was time. It was time to move on. And the underlying numbers on this team is not as bad as the actual numbers, so I think they can turn it around to some degree. They were 50.7 expected goals percentage, which was 16th in the entire league. So clearly, the talent is there on this team. It's just they need the proper system in order to exploit that talent. And a main reason why those even strength numbers, all situation numbers were higher is because of the power play was kind of carrying them at all situations. The 5-on-5 numbers are worse. But when looking at the Ottawa Senators going forward, they have obviously hired Jax Martin and David Alfredson as the assistant coach, Jax Martin as the head coach. And when you look at Martin, I think, how you pronounce it, he's Quebec, French-Canadian. But this guy has a shit ton of experience. He obviously was the Senators head coach during their late 1990s, early 2000s. This guy, although he didn't win a Stanley Cup or even make a Stanley Cup, he made 2 conference finals. He's just going to be that seasoned voice in the room. I don't expect him to be the head coach after the season. I just think they brought him in like a week or two ago to kind of be on the bench, give DJ someone to bounce ideas off of, and kind of replace DJ if DJ had to get fired. So I think Martin is going to provide some confidence and stability and rejuvenation into that room because he's been there. He's been at 3 different stops, and he's been in the Ottawa Senators organization. So he is an experienced coach, unlike a DJ Smith who was on his first job, somehow made it to year 5. So when looking at the Ottawa Senators, I do expect them to definitely pick it up down the stretch, considering they're on pace for 69 goddamn points right now. I don't think they're a 69-point pace team. I think going forward, they're going to be probably above a 500 team. When you crunch the math, I obviously did it. The Sens need to put up a 105-point pace the rest of the way in order to make the playoffs. I'm being a little bit delusional. Do I think that's going to happen? No, probably not. But can they be 90, 95-point pace the rest of the way, around 53, 55%? I think it's definitely possible. If I had to guess right now, I think this team finishes around 85 to 88 points. I do think they will be much improved with Martin. And again, the goaltending, although I do think these numbers are inflated a little bit because of DJ Smith's defensive system, they've been horrendous. And Korpisalo, although he's been wildly inconsistent throughout his career, last year he was fantastic. I think he's only going to play better going forward. Forsberg, also pretty inconsistent and gets hurt a lot. I think he's not going to be this bad. They have gotten bottom 3 goaltending in the entire league when looking at Edmonton, and also Minnesota is probably on that list as well. So I think going forward, that's a clear change that I think isn't even coaching involved. And I think as they get healthier, and with Pinto's still got 15 games, but they are healthy for the most part right now. So I think they are going to be dialed in at least for the next couple weeks. You saw with Minnesota, you saw with Edmonton, that initial coach jump, it is a real thing. When you get that new voice in the room, you do feel rejuvenated. You do feel more energized. So do I think the Ottawa Senators are going to end up making the playoffs? Probably not. I know I had them before the season at like 102 points. It was an absolute disaster with DJ Smith. They're in that massive hole right now, 5th worst record in the entire league. But I do think this team is going to be improved towards the end of the season, which is going to hurt me because they're going to play good down the stretch under this new coach. I'll probably pick them to make the playoffs next year. Then it's going to be a disaster to start. And then the cycle is continuous. They suck to start out. Then they play good from January and on. Then everybody thinks that they're going to be a playoff team next year. I'll probably fall for the bait. I didn't fall for the bait last season. Fell for the bait this year. But it would be pretty epic if they do somehow come back this season. But overall, Ottawa Senators, this summer is going to be a reset in the sense that they're going to get that full-time general manager and they're going to get that full-time head coach for at least the next 2 to 3 years. They will have actual stability into next season. So hopefully they can at least show some life down the stretch. If they stay this bad, I don't know what the hell you do. You can't really blow it up because most of your guys are on long-term deals and actually pretty solid long-term deals in terms of Stützle, in terms of Sanderson, Shabbat. Like, a lot of their guys are locked up. Maybe you flip a Chikrin. Maybe you trade. I don't even know who you trade for the most part. At the deadline, assuming they're not in the mix, they're obviously going to trade Tarasenko. They're going to trade Kubalik, who ended up being an absolute disaster. He has freaking 7 points in 23 games right now. Pierre Dorian, they looked like a solid deal in the moment. It looked like a solid deal considering the leverage they had, but it has been another disaster. So the Sens next couple months is going to be evaluating and deciding what players need to be moved out, what needs have to happen this offseason. Goaltending is going to be interesting considering, although Korpisalo is not making a high AAV at only $4 million per, he still has 4 more seasons after this. It's not Jack Campbell bad yet, but it is definitely not ideal in terms of the Jonas Korpisalo deal. So overall, let me know in the comments, what do you think about DJ Smith finally getting fired? I hope you agree with me that it was 1,000% justified, considering this guy never finished above 46% points percentage. He only finished it once in his entire career, 5-year stint with the Ottawa Senators. So what do you think about that? And do you think the Senators are going to be able to turn it around and at least maybe be in the mix come the trade deadline? Maybe it's possible they just need like a 5-game heater. It can happen. I don't know with that much talent. But overall, let me know in the comments what do you think, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.